Good evening from me here. It is the 5th of September, 2023. It's now just about 10 past 8 here in the UK. And I'm James, the regular person here on the Coffee Time videos. I wanted to make a video now just to express a few different feelings I had about Sunday's video, which I've made private as a result of those thoughts and feelings, and just to do a relatively a summary of why I wanted to make an apology now for that video and for just the way things were being expressed on that Sunday video. Especially, I think there was, behind the scenes, really quite a lot of confusion with regards to people missing from videos, not knowing, any real clear reason why they were missing for quite a long time, relatively speaking, a few months or so, I think. And then this became combined with other things which had happened in our Facebook chat, etc. And it sort of all got mashed up together as if the things were related, when in reality that was not necessarily the truth. And regardless of that, really, I think there's no real knowing exactly, what clearly led to one thing or the other in terms of whether somebody was on a show or not, or they'd gone, kind of off to do their own thing for some while, and we didn't really know why. We could easily, of course, put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5, and assume it was for certain direct reasons. But more precisely, I think certain individuals, one person or so, amongst a group, especially of males, one female interacting within that group, I suppose it can always go in certain directions. But on the other hand, I remember being in the chat maybe a few months back now, and it got to the point where at one point we were sending in pictures of ourselves shirtless, stripped to the waist, probably covered in oil or something. And this was directed towards the fact that we were males in a group with basically one female in there. But I don't think this is necessarily something that was being done seriously or anything like that. It was all just high-spirited larks, funny and all that kind of thing. But I think at the same time, there's always room for sort of misunderstanding and it being misinterpreted, or leading one to think, that people may be in the group for trying to have some kind of high erotic experience, whether it's the males in there or any females who are unlucky enough to become members of our chat. Regardless of that sort of thing, which is a bit beside the point of doing any videos, really, because we're not planning on, well, it's not my intention necessarily to do videos where we start stripping off and kind of getting each other aroused. But you know, people have said that, you know, why, James, have you started videos and it's got you in the bath at the beginning or shower or something to that sort of extent. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's, you know, very much just something that I did. And it didn't become, you know, it wasn't sort of intended in an erotic fashion by any means. If anyone found it like that, then, you know, I'm pleased. But on the other hand, it was more just, I don't know. I mean, I think it was me partly more amusing myself than anyone else. If anyone else found it funny in some way, that's, you know, a good result. But I don't think that was the case generally. I think most people found it probably annoying because they, you know, they're tuning in for a video and then there's me sort of sat in the bath soaping myself up. But anyway, that's sort of an extra thing that isn't exactly related to all of that. But I suppose it's part of me talking about how my own sort of approach to anything in Sexy Town, you know, is quite open, and I don't think it's something that I'm particularly coy about or ashamed of either. You know, I don't have any particularly, I mean, my boundaries, maybe some people could say they're a bit lacking. But, you know, I'm fully aware of how things can be taken offensively. And so, you know, that's something apart anyway from this whole thing. I think this video is not me apologizing for doing private videos with people where I'm in the bath, for instance, in case that's what anyone might think from the direction I was just talking about. But, you know, feel free, if anybody's here watching live, of course, and are unlucky enough to be in that position, then just put your thoughts into the chat, please, because that would be helpful for me in this trying time. But I think, yeah, my reasons for making the Sunday video private come from pretty much, I would just keep this, you know, this is my responsibility as, you know, I'm using StreamYard to host these videos, and you know, it's coming to about like £5 a week to have these videos, but hosted via StreamYard. But I think for me, you know, I've been enjoying doing videos the most recently when I felt like I was the most creatively sort of in a sense, you know, presenting my ideas and things like that, often on my own, really. Often, you know, there are videos, for instance, probably my favorite recently was the one I did with Marlena, where, you know, we just had an open talk, often mainly about the Exorcist films, which I'll be coming to at the end of this video. But why that video I decided to make private, I thought that now, after about a few days since Sunday, or 2 or 3 days, 2 days basically, I mean, I think that's enough chance for people to have seen the video, and I don't really think there's going to be a lot of other people who would have watched it anyway. So my main issue with it, for myself personally, is that I was being sort of somewhat talking about kind of, you know, fan fiction and this kind of thing, coming from a specific person who was in the group, in a sort of derisory way, or in a way that obviously suggested that I'm not a fan of fan fiction, but it could have come across as me really having it in for someone's um, fan fiction in particular. And that's not what I was trying really to say. I was more just, um, I think with me, I'm not trying to backpedal or anything, but I just don't think for the whole, I can't even think, say, I remember having a pen pal who was very much enamored with Twin Peaks like me when I was probably about 16 or so, up to the age of about 22. And we kept in touch for quite a long time. And it was a little bit of a shame that I managed to lose touch with her. But that was how it was back in those days, before all of the online communication, especially, which was coming in over that point, and did exist once I got to university, I think, and would take over more. But I think, like, the art of letter writing was very much something that I was enamored by during that time, because this Jane, who I used to write to, she was incredibly able to write great letters, really, and intelligent in that way, of course. But I do actually remember that she wrote a little bit of Twin Peaks fan fiction, and whilst I think her writing in itself was very good, I wasn't really. I don't think it really blew me away or anything like that in any sense, because I suppose I have a very strong attachment to just what is, what is the official Twin Peaks vision, and what is the TV show, and of course the film that Lynch made at that point, going up to 92. And so I didn't really have a lot of interest, even, I suppose, and that's all it comes down to in many ways, in a fan fiction approach, really, and people writing their own stories based upon Twin Peaks. Of course, I don't have any grudge or anything like that against people who do that, or think, in some way that look down upon it in any way. But I do see it a bit as, perhaps, there is an aspect of, one of the lowest sort of bars to set for yourself is a bit like being in a cover band. Like, if you're talented musically, then surely it's more creative, to go out there and on your own do something which is, your own composition or your own creation in many ways. I mean, I understand that the link or the comparison between, say, a cover version band of doing the covers of Black Sabbath, for instance, this gives you a room for a slight degree of creativity in there, I suppose. But if people just were doing covers and then they just go off into their own riffs and things, and their own sort of remix spin-off songs, I mean, I don't know how that people would be. The people who'd paid to see it, they are in a way asking just for, play the hits. We want to hear as if the band was here, which, for me, I just kind of think that's like one of the lowest creative bars for many people. But on the other hand, I do understand that some people might have been working, a long time each week, going out to work, etc. They just want some easy entertainment. And so do people who, might want to read fan fiction, etc. It's, it's a bit like picking up a airport novel, or even, one by Stephen King, and you kind of know what you're going to get. And that's no slight against Stephen King, because, I mean, of course, there's a certain talent in being able to do that, perhaps. And I'm not suggesting that everybody should be just entirely grabbing their heart, and putting it out on the line, pulling it out from the inside of their chest and slamming it down on the page, etc., and kind of expressing the very wellspring of their being. But I don't know. I think perhaps going in that kind of direction is more, I would say it's more creative and more valuable, really, in the long term, especially for the individual, because even though people might, of course, be able to earn something of a living, even doing cover band type performances, etc., that's fine. But I think at the same time, if they did that, and then they also had their own band, a bit like, say, you know, Josh Backhouse's band Trio, and they go out and perform and say, you know, say they're performing to just a handful of friends, family, and other people who may have just discovered them, and it's not the crowd who'd be coming to see the cover band. I think you have to think of it in a long-term sense, not just fixated on what's happening right now in the here and now, because in that sense, if you're constantly just fixated on what's happening right now, you're always going to be disappointed, I think. And that probably can be true of many different things, really, I think, in terms of relationships, etc. Anything good requires work, you know, and legwork in a sense, and just the miles. So, you know, I'm not saying don't write fan fiction. You know, James is against it. It's a bad thing. That would be a very all or nothing type of approach. I mean, for me, it's just not necessarily something that attracts me, but that's not to say I absolutely, you know, detest it or something. And in terms of who I was responding to, without naming any names, because it's not really much point in any of it now, you know, I think there were elements in that where Agent Cooper was described as having a certain belt with a LED on it, if I'm not getting it wrong. You know, there were certain things in it that stood out like that, which I thought were really good. Whereas, would I have read it if it wasn't about Twin Peaks? You know, and somebody who said, this is what I've written, it's you know, it's my own feelings and thoughts, or my own creation based upon maybe some time I spent in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know. You don't have to. I think the idea of attaching a name to something and saying this is a Twin Peaks fan fiction as well is probably, you know, it's starting off on the wrong foot for me. That's the only thing I would say about it. It's a bit like somebody saying, you know, I love Shakespeare. Here's my Shakespeare fan fiction. And I don't know, that might sound a bit crazy, like I'm comparing the writing of Twin Peaks to Shakespeare. But it's the only thing I can really compare it to in my own sort of mindset, however askew that is. I think, you know, that's about my opinion on that kind of thing. But I think regardless of my opinion on all that, it's yeah, you know, I think, like, you know, some people view it differently to me, but that's probably because they've been doing, I mean, I've been doing these videos going way back to when I did them with Cameron, and then I kind of just carried on my channel because he wanted to do his own thing a bit more, or something of that nature, and we sort of parted ways also around when Twin Peaks was released, and there was all that kind of fever, I suppose. And it felt like that for me, certainly. Felt feverish type of time. But I think when you've been doing these videos for a while as well, I suppose your own perspective on it is something, you know, individual. And yeah, you know, like with you in the chat, Johnny, saying these kind of things, it just makes me think that you, I mean, I don't have anything to say about that other than it just makes me feel that, you know, it's not really something that you view seriously so much. Whereas for me, it's like, you know, I have to know when to turn over a new page, and I'm generally happier now doing things on my own terms, really now. And you know, that comes from the smallest thing to the biggest. Like if I'm gonna send somebody links to come on, I'd rather know like who exactly has got the links. For instance, if they're just being sent willy nilly to somebody who's not been on the show for several months, and I don't know about it, I just find that yeah, it just comes off like, why are you doing this? You know, it's like it just seems the kind of lack of sort of, you know, it's just a lack of empathy, really, and the way I feel it, like, you know, I'm sending out the links. Just communication is what it's all about, and you know, and frankly, if someone's not been on the show for 2 or 3 months, and then they come on, and then they basically give us no real clear answer when they'll be on again, then for me, I just have to draw a line under it, and you know, I don't like want to just keep wheeling out the same old people who come on, you know, and they just almost seem like a parody of themselves, or you know, they seem to be coming on merely because someone else is sending them links, not me even. So it's like, surely I should be the one sending the links, you know? And you might say, oh, yeah, get over yourself. You know, I want to send the links out. You know, well, do that on your own channel then, frankly. You know, you can go off and have like shows with Voltaire and Mandela Man like you did in the past and stuff, and then all's good. Yeah, like Johnny, you don't need to explain to me that you're trying to get guests on. I mean, that's like saying, yes, I was closing the door. Sorry for smashing it in your face. I was trying to be helpful. Like, really, there's not really any particular anything to say other than just like, there's just no, you know, you're just leaving no room for anyone's feelings in terms of all of that. Like, after all, this is my channel and everything, my show. I'm the one who asks people to come on video, and then they just constantly refuse to come on video. At the end of the day, fine, go off and do your own thing. That's frankly how I feel, and I don't want to, you know, be cheered up either. This is exactly how I feel about everything. Sunday's show left me feeling, frankly, not good. I just felt, you know, we had like 4 people on. I felt like I was being talked over quite a lot of the time. Every time I wanted to start talking, you know, it was, oh, I want to do this on my channel when I'm, you know, doing copyright or something. You know what I mean? Does anyone really want to tune in to listen to this kind of thing? To other people talk about their own channels? We're supposed to be just sitting around talking about films, and it should be all casual, but instead it just devolved into, really, I don't think anyone's tuning in to listen to, you know, the Johnny, Mandela Man and Voltaire show with just, it's done. That's it. It's over. Sorry. That's the end of it. And that's also the point of this video, because, you know, I think certain people coming into the chat and just mixing things up as well, and then me being criticized for not liking their fan fiction, etc. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm only kind of reacting to that partly like that because it felt imposed upon us. Like, here you go, read this stuff of mine. Like, well, we didn't even ask for it. So, you know, it's just this empathy thing again. It's just like, okay, it's fantastic if you're creative. If someone wanted to make loads of short films based upon Twin Peaks and then just kept posting them to me and saying, you've got to review this on your show, I'd just think, well, bloody hell, like, why? I mean, is it good? Do I know you? Are you coming on the show? You know, and if that said person just did a video where we did a video and they came on to do a video and didn't say anything, I just basically think, well, that's that, isn't it? You know, you've just wasted my time. So, however they see it, you know, they don't have the empathy quotient to understand that it's just a waste of time for the people who do the video. They're just coming on and basically messing around like children. So, you know, I do feel like a bit stupid sometimes for allowing all of this kind of nonsense, but this is why, you know, I've just left the chat now for coffee time, and I just don't want any of that anymore. Just people sending stupid, you know, gifs towards each other and all these kind of like jokes and stuff. Like, you know, I'm in my 40s. I'm too old for like messing around like kids, basically. At this age, people have got families and, you know, children and full-time jobs. And certainly I don't want coffee time to be like a full-time job for me. It's just supposed to be basically fun for me. That's it. It's not supposed to be like some kind of art project where I, you know, I'm putting a show on in London with an exhibition of me, you know, like Lynch does with his art and everything. And again, when people just come on the show and just say that Lynch's art is shit and all that kind of thing, fine. But, you know, I don't think that. I mean, sorry, but it's just, you know, it's not really the show I want to make if people are just going to basically just be kind of nihilistic, really. So all I can say is, you know, I'm sorry to people if they found it. It seemed to be going down in, you know, a dark path, and it was in a dark place, really, I think. And I think that was because of the mixture of people on, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't gelling properly how it was initially on the show, where going back years, you know, we used to have a kind of, there was at least a sort of easygoing nature about it, which, yes, sometimes we could rile each other for sure, but overall it would be, it would generally work, but, you know, that was then. And so to expect that to be the same now would be extremely naive, I think. And you only have to look at, like, just take a cursory look into the world of sort of Twin Peaks fandom, etc., on Facebook or Reddit, the Tulpa forum, etc. now, and a lot of it is just, oh, what is Lynch doing? You know, here's a photograph of his couch that Peter Deming has shown. It's like, okay, that's great, but you can't really make a whole video on that, you know, discussing a couch in Lynch's house. It's quite difficult to do a full video even on that new Twin Peaks game, for instance, which, even though I thought it was good and everything, you know, it's just one aspect of things. I think it gave me a real flashback to how Twin Peaks was back in 1990, but at the same time, you know, that is still in the past. That's not now. So it felt like a flashback type of thing, really, rather than necessarily something that can kind of occupy our imaginations now, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I think if people have got offended along the way by me, etc., and then, you know, we try and sort of make things better and go back over them, but then it's just constantly brought up to me that I got riled by someone. It's like, you know, just forget it, really. I've got to move on. I'm sorry. It's just not working, frankly. So anyway, all I want to say is apologies if the show, especially on Sunday, seemed to be coming from a sort of confusing area, especially with the lack of clarity provided from certain people, in my opinion, I think. But it just, for me, if anything, it made sense to just think, you know, put that as being, that was a reunion show and that's it. That's like ending on a high note for that group of people. because I just wasn't enjoying the chemistry going on there. If there was any, I think it felt like me just sat to one side and everybody just talking kind of, and then I just say, oh, okay, that's it. I didn't feel any kind of, you know, like people even wanted to come on the show because I was on it. I just feel like I'm just giving a space to people. And, you know, and if they don't even really get on with me, it just seems, I don't know, I feel a bit kind of, you know, it just seems a shame, really. Um, but I don't really blame myself in particular because I think I'm just myself and the way I am, especially online, etc. It sometimes it uh, doesn't warrant the kind of responses I've had. I think it's more on the other people. They're unable to sort of deal with their own, you know, emotions. So yeah, I just wanted to put a line under everything and apologise for any bad feelings and a general sense of uncertainty that was expressed on Sunday, especially. If it was up to me, I would have everything, you know, just out in the open and sort of hanging out in the air, you know, to dry, rather than just sort of leaving things unclear, because I just don't like that. It's it's just for me. I just don't like the kind of having a sort of aggressive opinion about things and then there just being no recourse. Really, at the end of the day, you have to be able to express yourself in an adult way, not like, you know, a child, really. So I wish everyone well, and I will see you soon. See you in the trees.